Human first. Human first. The only obligation we have is to work together. Human first. Inevitably, we connect through abstract. That's a good thing. A lot of the time, the abstract gets in the way of human first. Abstract ideas, whatever they are, economic, political, religious, sexual, cultural, frameworks that we live in, Good to live within frameworks. We need frameworks. But can the overriding framework or the overriding message or the overriding connection be through human first? The only obligation we have is to work together. Somebody told me a story. 1944 Paris in the metro. It's a living memory of a young girl. Old woman now, of course, 1944. Now she's 81 in 2018. But in 1944 she was on the metro, filled the carriage with French folks and a German Nazi soldier. She was giving this soldier a little bit of hassle, pushing him a little bit. Pushing him a little bit. She looked around, and the Nazi soldier looked down at her, and the tension in the carriage was very high, because this conceptual situation was intensely filled with anger. You know, it's funny, just an aside, the woman that told me this said that in these moments, the fiction of war evaporated. The fiction of war evaporated. Very interesting. Somehow the German soldier looked at her, as she was 7 years old, reached in his pocket and pulled out a candy. She remembers looking at her mother and saying to her mother, "Can I accept this? Can I take it, mother?" Because nobody had candy in Paris in 1944. Her mother somehow looked at her and said yes. And the little girl reached up and took the candy from the Nazi soldier. The abstract chasm between the Nazi soldier and the rest of the people in that carriage was huge, enormous. But in that moment, this woman, now 81, said that the fiction of war evaporated. And I believe that the human connection came to the fore and bridged the chasm, and the tension in the carriage subsided. It could have gone a different way. It could have elevated depending on what the interaction was, but the tension subsided. I don't know. It speaks to me in that instant, in that very straitjacket of circumstances, of ideals, of fear, of hatred, and a context of war, that somehow human first.